Hi friends. So today we're going to talk about solving radical equations. But first, we're going to visit with my buddy Marshall here. Notice Marshall's been working hard on trying to catch a tennis ball. Oh, didn't work the first time. Let's try again. Oh, didn't work. And here's our third try. Look, third try is the charm. Good job, Marshall. See? Just like math. Things might be hard at first, but it'll get easier. Just keep practicing. All right, so today we're going to solve radical equations. And you know the basics of this already. I've got two equations there. Go ahead, take a moment and solve those. Let's review. Notice the first one, we take the square root of both sides, x equals plus or minus 7. And then the other one, to undo the square root, we square each side, and x equals 36. Okay. When we're working with radical equations in this unit, we are going to focus on the primary root, so you don't have to worry about the plus or minus 7. We're just going to write positive 7. So all of these things that you already know will apply, okay? The main difference is these equations will be a little bit more complex than what you've worked with before. So we need to make sure we do a couple things. First, you want to isolate your radical. That means that the only thing that should be on the left-hand side or one side of your equation is just the radical term. Once you have it isolated, you're going to raise both sides of the equation to the power equal to the index of the radical. So before, we squared both sides because the index that exists there is 2. Okay? Now, if we look at the example on the chart here, okay, the index here is 3. And so what we would do is we would cube both sides. And then you'll simplify and solve as you know how to do well. Okay, so let's try a couple together. All right, let me get a new color here. All right, our first step is to isolate the radical. So the thing I see over there with it is that positive 5, and so to undo that, I am going to subtract 5 from both sides. So that will leave me with the square root of x plus 1, and that'll equal 11. Now that the radical is isolated, I am going to raise each side to the index of the radical. Since I don't see an index there, I know it's a square root, so to undo that, I square each side. So I'm squaring the left and I'm squaring the right. The squaring and the square root cancel each other out, so I'm left on the left with x plus 1, and that equals 121. Finish that off, and x is equal to 120. Okay. Let's try the next one together. We're going to go through those same 3 steps. First step, isolate the radical. So what do we see next to the radical? This 7. The 7 is multiplying the cube root. So to undo that, I need to divide both sides by 7. Then I'll have the cube root of 5x minus 7 equal to 12. Now that my radical is isolated, I am going to raise each side to the index. The index is 3, so I'm going to cube each side. Cubing a cube root cancels that, so I'm left with 5x minus 7. And that's going to equal 12 to the third power, which is 1,728. Go ahead, solve this as you know how to solve equations. We'll add 7 to each side and have 5x equal to 1735. Divide both sides by 5, and x is equal to 347. All right, let's look at one more, and then I'm going to have you practice some. Okay. This one is different from the previous two because you'll notice there's a radical on each side. So if I wanted to isolate this radical here on the right and divide by 3, okay, I would have to divide both sides by 3, and it just moves the 3 to the other side. It just moves the problem. It doesn't actually get rid of it. So when we have a radical on both sides, what we're going to do is we're just going to leave that 3 there and just take note that to get rid of this square root, I do have to square both sides. And remember, the 3 is going to get squared along with it. We're squaring the whole side. So by squaring that square root, I'm going to have a 7x plus 2 on the left. And that's going to equal 3 squared is 9. So I'll have a 9 times the quantity 3x minus 2. So we've gone through kind of the two main places where you could make a mistake. First of all is forgetting to square the 3. Don't forget to square the 3. Secondly, put parentheses around where the radical is. Okay, we have to distribute that 9. So we'll have 7x plus 2 is equal to 27 minus 18. And then we'll just solve it from there like we know how to do from Algebra 1. Oops, I forgot my x right there. Sorry about that. So I'll minus 7x on both sides. 2 equals 20x minus 18. Add 18. 20 equals 20x, and therefore x equals 1. All right, I'd like you to take a few minutes then and work through these additional practice problems, okay? All of them, review what you just did. If you get them all right, the sum of your answers should be 27. So go ahead, take a break now, give this a try, and then we'll pick back up with video number 2.